Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. I've been trading crypto the last 6 years and stocks the last 13. We're going to check in on where we stand heading into Halloween. This is my costume. I'm a guy with an orange hat. So where we stand on Bitcoin, sideways. Bulls love sideways consolidation after a breakout. That shows price acceptance in the new range. What you don't want to see is, you shoot up to 35,000, you drop back down to 31,000. That shows obviously a lot of profit taking, bears regaining control very quickly. Yet here we have a shoot up to 35,000, establish a daily higher low at 33.4, and then an attempt at a bull flag. And we know that what the bulls want to see in crypto is when Bitcoin is going sideways, profits are rotating around to other coins. That's what started things off in terms of having us recognize, things are a bit different when Bitcoin traded sideways over the weekend here and some altcoins started popping off one by one. And we're still seeing that. Now, today's a little bit different in the sense that this is the most red on my crypto list that we've seen in the last week plus. So we'll talk about that in terms of today's action. But before we get to that, let's just look at the last few days since we last spoke. It's definitely still bulls getting a turn one by one. Today it's Sushi's turn. Sushi is having a huge day. And when I mean a huge day, yeah, percentage gains are nice, but look at the volume. This volume is currently 600%. It's going to be like 700% of the 20-day average volume. And that's with the average volume picking up recently. And so it's just, this is bull market move. To see this kind of move and maintain strength and higher lows on short-term time frames, it's extremely impressive. And the other moves that have been happening one by one, you get your XRP with a pop-up earlier this morning. Didn't hold gains nearly as well, but again, still a green higher high. Of course, Sol getting another leg up. We'll look at that in just a moment. But even the weaker names, I've been dogging on Atom, calling Atom a lead bear all year prior to this. And the last 2 days, it gets a leg up, 10% follow through. So again, there's still that rotation going on, and the dominance chart is pulling back, not significantly, but it has been pulling back while Bitcoin goes sideways, which again is showing us those altcoins getting a bit of a turn. If it's going to be altcoin season, what you have to see is Bitcoin holding gains and holding firm, and then this chart, in weekly and daily downtrends, which were not even close to happening. We're just going to look for a weekly higher low at some point, and there are no signs of a longer-term dominance top being set. So definitely not alt season, but it's a bullish market environment thanks to Bitcoin and confidence that Bitcoin has given this market, and that allows for bulls to have a bit of a playground, so to speak, just in terms of more confidence, putting their money to work in different places. So the most important support for me on Bitcoin is 33.4 thousand. The most important resistance is the high of 31, or we'll call it 35.2 thousand. A simple statement for me is if 12-hour EMA 12 is support, the bulls keep complete control. And why that matters to me, we'll use an example here looking at gold. So today, the dollar has a big bull day. Big green day on the dollar. And that's leading to a lot of metals weakness. And the Bitcoin bulls are saying, we're pretty pleased with how we're holding up. And we've been trading fairly correlated to just similarly to gold. But look at the 12-hour for gold. Well, it's still, we're there right now. My point is, gold has been holding the 12-hour EMA 12 since October 9th. Bitcoin has been holding the 12-hour EMA 12 since October 15th. And again, longer term perspective, as long as that keeps holding, no red flags whatsoever. Again, whenever I'm looking at a chart, I want to be able to say something and say, if this changes, it shows me the market conditions are changing. And so I identify this and say, okay, over the last 2 weeks, this has been support. As long as we're holding it, nothing is changing. If we lose this support level, I can say, this is something different for the first time in the last 2 weeks, and it tells us to be a little bit more cautious. So with the current consolidation that we're seeing in altcoins right now, there's no major red flags. Bulls are still looking to buy dips in some of these altcoins, and some of them are first hourly oversold conditions. So you look at something like Mana, we could say anything above 33.4 is a daily high or low. The hourly RSI got oversold, and here is, a 3% bounce so far, trying for a more significant bounce attempt. Why can bulls still be looking to try and play some of these bounces? The reason is because Bitcoin is still sideways. If Bitcoin were dropping with the altcoins, we'd be less confident looking for these bounces. We'd be saying, okay, well, maybe Bitcoin's shaping up weekly consolidation. We got to be a bit cautious here. But that's not the case. As long as Bitcoin is holding firm and not losing ground, bulls are going to continue to look to buy dips. And so we'll see if these hourly oversold bounces mark daily higher lows. If they do, we know the bulls are still in complete control. Again, ADA, no real daily consolidation in almost 2 weeks. Today, we've got the first real daily consolidation. And this is the bulls attempting to see hourly oversold mark a daily higher low. If you are going to be trading these hourly oversold bounces, again, look to exit some position into profit. So let's just say ADA drops down to hourly oversold. I make an entry at 287, sell partial over 29, get your break even right down near that low if you can. And that also, if I get a really good entry and I only have to sell a third to be risk-free, I'll only sell a third. If my entry's not as great, I have to sell half, then I'll sell half. But the key for me is to get as low risk as possible and then try and let it play out. And so into tonight, we're going to know if these hourly oversold conditions, here's RNDR, first hourly oversold, looking for a daily higher low. After a big time move and a decent pullback. We pulled back 20% plus from the high, and bulls are hoping that hourly oversold marks the daily higher low. Bulls have to see these hourly oversold bounces result in hourly trend changes to the bulls. That would show bulls are buying the dip. So ADA, wherever we top out, we then have to hold the low and break the bounce high if there's going to be hope that this is a daily higher low forming from hourly oversold conditions. Crypto stocks are still extremely weak. Again, a little green today, but again, what this is showing me is that the crypto stocks, the correlation to IWM, which again is growth names, high risk, high reward stocks, it matters more than what Bitcoin is doing. Doesn't mean Bitcoin's irrelevant, but again, if Bitcoin's going up and these stocks are dropping, IWM has been dropping this whole time. It's bouncing now today. These stocks are now trying to go green, but we can say that we are breaking correlation between these stocks and Bitcoin. And so, we bounced and confirmed a bear flag on MARA. Riot confirmed a little daily bear flag. Riot's still sideways. This weekly chart is still certainly telling us that volatility is coming. And there has been volatility, but even more volatility is coming in the coming weeks here. And coin, a little bit stronger today. Daily inside bar bull break. Tons of space for the daily lower high. And there's also earnings at play. And earnings are going to be another factor that breaks the correlation between these stocks and Bitcoin. I just know that there's a lot of traders out there that took losses on these stocks or are bag holding now because they assumed that Bitcoin being strong would mean these stocks would be going up. And again, it's just a fresh reminder for us that there's other things at play. There's other factors for these correlations. MARA dilution is a factor. These earnings are going to be a factor. The broader market and what the Russell 2000 is doing is going to be a factor. So there's a lot more things that you need to be paying attention to if you're trading these stocks, whereas GBTC is just tracking Bitcoin. It's doing the same thing as Bitcoin. So you only have to track one thing. Just keep that in mind. Still trading opportunity on these stocks in both directions. Lots of good volatility, good volume, good liquidity. But again, just break that correlation out of your brain that they're going to do what Bitcoin is going to do. ETH, Also tightening up on the daily time frame. So again, the levels that we care about, the high, the low, and now the question is, do we set a lower high compared to 1880, 1866? And do we just tighten up here into next week? Keep in mind, tomorrow, we're likely going to get volatility. Why? FOMC. So tomorrow, FOMC, 2 p.m. Eastern. The real volatility is going to come when Powell speaks at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, talking about the future, essentially. The market right now is pricing in a 90 whatever percent chance, 98% chance that rates aren't going to change. Nothing's going to change in that regard. And so that information comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then Powell starts speaking at the conference at 2:30, and the market reacts to what he says about moving forward. And so crypto will respond to that volatility as well. And it might be enough to break Bitcoin's tightening range here. The bulls are comfortable. You know, they're just 2% away from a bull break. And so if I'm a bull, I want to be going into the FOMC as close to resistance as possible to try and get a little bump up. ETH BTC, again, this is telling us, look at this chart. What can we say? If daily EMA 12 is resistance, nothing is changing. ETH is weaker than BTC. So now we're trading sideways while that EMA 12 comes into play. Sometimes we trade sideways and then it leads to another leg down. That's entirely possible. But what we want to see to say things are shifting is for ETH BTC to break the high of last Thursday and to get over daily EMA 12 for this weekly bounce to be underway. If we do not get over daily EMA 12, Bitcoin remains the better place to be compared to ETH. Sol continues the breakout. Again, the 12-hour for clarity. Sol built a base on the 12-hour here. We hit support of 30.73. We then held it by 47 cents and then held it by, we just formed a base of support. I'm not doing math here. So there's a low, a little higher low, hold it again. We're real tight. Look at the volume disappearing as it gets real tight and then a break. So what is happening there is for this entire uptrend, demand is outweighing supply. And then as we trade sideways, we do this, and it's a spot where it's possible that we flip and that supply starts outweighing demand. But that didn't happen. Demand's outweighing supply, they even out, and then it goes back to demand outweighing supply. And that's just continuation of the trend. And what that does is when you form a base of support, it gives you a level to play off of, where you might be saying, well, I don't want to chase here. And let's look at the biotech sector today. Completely unrelated to crypto, but I don't want to chase here today. You know, I want to have my risk clearly defined and a stop loss nearby. And so here's an example where, you know, we've already run on this name. We're coming off of a low. It's in a daily downtrend, but it's all bull today. And we find this support level, 65, 66, 65, 64, 67. And so then we could say, all right, we have a base of support there. I don't want to chase. I'll give it an attempt. If we break that support, I exit with a small loss because that tells me supply is now outweighing demand. And if it doesn't break, you enjoy the next leg up in the uptrend. And so similar example. So it may feel like chasing, but if you can zoom in and see a level that is clearly being defended, then you play off of that level because, again, you can have your risk be nice and small. So Sol, what's our next resistance? I don't know. I haven't zoomed out in a while. So current high here on Sol is 36.98. Trading view is definitely slow for me today. We got to reboot it. But again, as I mentioned recently, what matters more to me than the previous price resistance is just the trends. We're just looking for the 12-hour uptrend to keep control for the bulls, unless there is a glaring level that has, 3 weekly tops over the span of a few months at a certain level. This 38.79 and 39.01 is a clear resistance zone from the way down. So that's what I would be looking at as the next major resistance level. 39.01. Shout out to the guy on StockTwits who said he lost all respect for me for charting SOL back here. Because it's a shit coin. Link. Link's getting tired. These bulls, these upper wicks show us bull exhaustion. So that's when we want to start scouting a rising wedge. And so we draw our visual guide lines. And uptrend support line. It looks like this is already breaking bear. Meh, I would put it right there. Anyways, no, I mean, we did break bear. Just barely. Barely. When you break a wedge, the next most important factor is then confirming the downtrend. So we broke 4-hour support, and the bears must confirm a 4-hour downtrend to follow through from that. Yesterday, I traded a rising wedge on XLF on the 5-minute time frame. Again, not crypto related, but trading related. This is the financial sector, and we were in a bounce, and I was looking for hourly consolidation to potentially be shaping up. And so this was the rising wedge that I was playing. Oh man, TradingView is going to make me swear again. So this is the rising wedge that I was playing, and it confirmed. And I always take a little profit into the pattern confirming. It was like this. And so this is me saying, oh, I'm right. You know, here's the bear break. And I take a little bit of profit. And then I set my break-even stop above the high. And what we did not see from that point forward was a confirmed 5-minute downtrend. And so I would have had to have seen that to continue having it play out. Instead, the bulls just went right back up to a higher high. So again, if you're playing a rising wedge, you take partial profit when it breaks, and then the bears must confirm the downtrend on that time frame. And when you take partial profit, ideally you can then, again, put yourself in a risk-free position where if you're wrong and it's not the top and the bulls do recover, that you don't lose anything on that attempt. So that's going to be key from here. Next bounce on the 4-hour, link bears must confirm the 4-hour downtrend for us to say, yep, this is a rising wedge and it's following through. And again, the characteristic of a rising wedge is bull break straight into consolidation. Then you break resistance again, straight into consolidation. And again, Adam got its bull break already. Gold rejected from the high of last week. Gold was strong this morning. They made a significant recovery. We rejected right off the high of last week and then rolled over. It's almost like the last attempt for the bulls. And then once they rejected, bears got really confident, driving the price down from there. Still a daily uptrend, but again, we had an hourly pullback all bull morning, real strong morning for the bulls, but we rejected from resistance by $1.57. And then the bears ran with it from that point. Because as soon as you reject from that resistance, protective bulls take profit and aggressive bears short the resistance. And they successfully dumped it down today. All right, I'm now reading the chat room. I'll talk about cannabis in the end of the day video. You got it, D-Lee Crypto. Again, there are a lot of names hitting first hourly oversold right now. And so we'll get information over the next 4 to 6 hours as to how bulls respond. Because the initial bounce is nice, but you need the follow through. You need the higher low and higher high. TRXBTC. Stock market is green today, but they're only up 0.4%, 0.3%. We're waiting for the FOMC for the stock market's real reaction. If it's a bearish reaction to the FOMC, those are potential daily bear flags. So TRXBTC, you can call that a little daily uptrend underway. And you zoom out and the weekly is trying to shape up a bounce. So again, in this current market environment for crypto, it's more common than not that the BTC pairings are still really weak. And so to be at, 1 week high is definitely a win. And again, going back 2 weeks ago, why we were focusing in the middle of everything being weak, why we were watching Sol and Link is because their BTC pairings had progress. And so now we're seeing, can other things act as laggards? So TRX, I'm assuming it has a solid green few days here going on. Yep, really nice. Getting over 94, highest level of many months. And just walking up. That's another one where, I don't even need to zoom in. I know the 12-hour is a nice clear guide for bull control, holding EMA 12. Still liking the 12-hour time frame on a lot of these altcoins as a guide. So simple statement here, if 9.4 holds as support, 12-hour uptrend remains intact. Bulls don't have anything to worry about. CRO. Can only take a few requests. This trading view is way too slow. So it's looking a little rising wedgy. I'm about to zoom in and look for a rising wedge. Why? Bull break into consolidation, bull break into consolidation, bull break into consolidation. Again, that just shows us bulls tiring. It's possible rising wedges break bull. Bitcoin likes to do that in bull markets. But we have to recognize it and say, all right, I need to be cautious of this. Keep in mind, when a 4-hour rising wedge breaks bear, it just is the first indication for daily consolidation. So if you're going to sit through daily consolidation in a swing trade, then you're not really worried about it. If you don't want to be sitting through daily consolidation, then you're definitely watching these patterns in the short term. And so here's another one where I would say this is a 4-hour rising wedge that already broke. And now the bears must confirm a 4-hour downtrend from here. We've lost the 4-hour uptrend. We would need to then confirm the 4-hour downtrend for the bears to follow through. So again, this is just saying, be a bit cautious. The bulls are tired. You could also say, I don't care. I'm bullish as long as 12-hour EMA 12 is support. And I would say, okay, that's fine. That's just a difference between your aggressiveness protecting profit and giving it a bit of a leash to try and see another leg up eventually. And that's one thing about this market environment is this market environment calls for leaving runner positions. As so many of these names showed us, they got their breakout on the daily. They then consolidated for a daily higher low and then got another leg up. So many of these names, that is the case. It's the wrong coin. It's like, what's going on here? MAN. MAN USDT. I meant to do mana. But again, any really protective bull that was like, I don't want to sit through daily consolidation, I'm locking it in. That's great. Locking in profit's never a bad thing. But there was another leg up in many, many names. I wouldn't call gold to sell the news. Keep an eye on gold. Just remind yourself that gold is a longer term, slower moving asset. So you want to be watching gold in 2024. Absolutely. Its triple top is right there. Its all-time highs are right there. And if the dollar sets a 3-month lower high, which is the most likely longer term scenario, gold is positioned well for blue sky breakout. It may take a little while. We may have to see weekly consolidation. We may have to confirm a weekly uptrend. But it is, I mean, if you look around at the market, at anything in terms of what has close proximity to all-time highs right now, gold's at the top of the list. I mean, how many things are, it's further now, but how many things are 5% from all-time highs? Answer is not many. Just a heads up, if you didn't see the live stream yesterday morning on our YouTube channel, I did a video talking about long-term time frames, mostly in markets. I briefly touched on Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying on Bitcoin. Be prepared for a long-term lower high and tightening range. Don't take all-time highs for granted. Yes, it's possible, but we want to be prepared for everything. And so, hey, there's us right now. So that is under Lori pregame live long-term stock patterns from yesterday. If you want to be looking at monthly to 3-month time frames in the broader market as we get ready for 2024. I'm definitely watching the energy sector for bears to take over longer term. Oil confirming a weekly downtrend is key for that. Do you think we should even try and position before FOMC or create a post-FOMC game plan? Good question. This would be the kind of thing where, if I were aggressive in playing these hourly oversold bounces, that would be fine. Because again, I buy the hourly oversold conditions, I sell partial, I stick a stop. And so, if we get an FOMC reaction and we drop down and wick down, worst case, it's a break even or a small loss. Because I used the trade, I'm not, as long as you can protect yourself and sell partial and just have low risk and then try and let it ride, because then you get the possibility where it's a bullish reaction to the FOMC and then you have a great entry. So as long as, the great thing about crypto is you're not subject to gaps, which is one thing that's tricky with stock swing trades sometimes. If I have a swing trade position where I have good risk reward and I sell partial and I got my stop under support and it's risk free, but then there's a pre-market, jobs report that everybody's watching, it's possible that we open lower than my stop and my risk is more than I allocated for. Where crypto, you don't have to worry about that. Man, sushi's still going, huh? Not many names have put in a 20% day on this move. Did sushi have any news? Let me know. But here we are testing resistance. This is where bears are going to, again, this is a clear level that everybody's watching, 80 to 816, and we're approaching that level in very extreme overbought conditions. So whenever I'm looking at a resistance level, I want to see things as overbought as possible heading into that resistance. And so sushi fits the bill. Even if it's just 4-hour consolidation, bears are going to defend 80 cents. We'll see if they're successful or not. Do I only care about technicals or do I care about the story of the coin? I care about the story of Bitcoin. I don't care about the story of altcoins. In my opinion, if I paid attention to stories of these coins and the fundamentals, I would have given back way more profit than I have. I'm sure in some instances, it would have helped me profit a bit more, but just knowing the general nature of how much these altcoins drop, when Bitcoin drops 70 to 80%, it's probably saved me a lot of money. And again, it's just treating it as virtual numbers. I know a lot of people, when they look at a stock or they look at a crypto, they imagine the fundamental tangibles. They imagine the team sitting behind the desk in their office and working on the development of whatever it is. For me, none of that exists. It's just these flashing numbers not tied to anything meaningful. They can go up a bunch, they can go down a bunch. And I think that's, if your goal is just trading and to be as unemotional as possible, because it's so easy to justify bag holding. When I think about that, well, the developers are working really hard and it's got a great community. So I'm just going to, I should have stopped out, but I'm going to keep holding because I'm confident it's going to come back to green. And then it's down 30% over the next 2 months. And so I just want to avoid any of that seeping into my brain. What scares me? Ledges. I don't like standing on the edges of cliffs. Makes me uneasy. I don't like to go in my life is all probabilities. Trading is all probabilities. My life is all probabilities. I don't like going in scenarios where my probability for dying elevates significantly higher than any other point in my life. I don't like shooting guns. I have guns. I don't like shooting them. If I'm shooting a gun, my probability of dying or killing somebody goes up massively compared to my average in my life. Standing on a ledge, what if I faint? What if I stumble? I stumble all the time. What if I just kick a little rock and stumble? Nope. No Halloween themed video today. Yes, I was. It wasn't a pumpkin, but I was in an inflatable orange suit at the Halloween Music Festival last year. Gala Weekly. So we are coming off the low. Any name, this is one of those falling wedges. We saw the falling wedges in Atom and QNT, and they were the laggards. Lincoln Sol, Stronger, were the first altcoins to pop off, and then the laggards got their turn. And so this is a laggard bull break, but let's not forget we're not in a weekly uptrend. This was coming off of a fresh low, and so if this move is going to have legs long term, it has to confirm a weekly higher low and higher high. What a lot of these coins are going to do, the ones that aren't going to survive, is they're just going to pop. I mean, just look at cannabis. Let's go to ACB. It pops when the sector pops, and then it just gives it back because this name is going to zero. It's got a dilution death spiral. Just imagine if a coin could print as many coins as it wants, and it keeps doing so, and it just inflates the supply. That's what this stock is doing. And so, yeah, huge move. Great. Confirm a weekly uptrend and prove to us the bottom is in. Nope, just the slow fade back to fresh lows. You have to ensure that the altcoin that you're watching confirms trend changes on the daily, then on the weekly, then on the monthly, because a bunch of them are just going to pop because everything's popping and people are throwing their money around to try and find the laggard, but then it lacks any follow through. And that's due to people not being interested, or it's due to creation of supply of coins. What do I think about INJ changing to a bear soon? No sign of it yet. I mean, let's see what first hourly oversold does. I'm not sure if the RSI got there on this one. We dropped down. Hourly RSI probably got right to 32 or something. But daily high or low is the most likely scenario. Let's go to the 12-hour. So if we were to confirm a 12-hour, well, you could say we just did, huh? There's a little bit of a red flag there. Just because we confirmed an hourly uptrend straight into a fresh low. And granted, that fresh low is not getting any follow-through. But that is a quick little 12-hour lower high and lower low. So again, you can just make the simple statement: if we're holding 12-hour EMA 12 as we've been doing the last 2 weeks, then bulls are just fine. And I would agree with that statement. But there is enough on this pullback to, again, and there's a bunch of coins where that's the case. It's just time to be cautious. There's been some great runs. We don't want to hold through weekly consolidation. We're not seeing signs that weekly consolidation is imminent right now, but we know eventually it will be. And so we just got to be a little bit protective. I would be watching on INJ this downtrending support and this downtrending resistance. And if that's an hourly falling wedge that breaks bull into tomorrow, then the 12-hour remains just fine. Yep, ACB is brutal. All right. Thank you, everyone, for the likes. Again, it's still bulls are all right. And these hourly oversold, even if you're not playing an hourly oversold bounce, you get information. The bulls are going to give us information when we look back and say, all right, are these hourly oversold bounces following through, or do we drop to lower lows? The more altcoins where hourly oversold conditions bounce and we drop to lower lows, the more that happens, the more likely we're going to start seeing more significant profit taking in crypto as a whole. In the short term, it's all about Bitcoin reaction to the FOMC tomorrow and Bitcoin's sideways daily range, which again is going to break, and it's either going to be starting weekly consolidation or a new leg up. And so we always look to Bitcoin. And again, if Bitcoin is dropping and altcoins are dropping with it, a little bit less confident on the bounce plays. But if Bitcoin is holding steady, we can be a little bit more confident on the altcoin bounce plays. Do good things, and we will see you before the end of the week. We'll check in after the FOMC settles a bit, so probably Thursday we'll check in and see where Bitcoin's daily chart stands at that point. Again, just trade sideways and let these EMAs catch up. Bitcoin has not touched daily EMA 12 in 2 weeks, ever since that fake headline. Love ya. See you tomorrow. No, Thursday. Bye.